Miami's dealing with some injuries right now. We're going to dive into that and more rumors surrounding the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade sweepstakes on this Thursday's episode of Your Heat Latest on FanArc. Thanks again so much for joining us. I'm Sam Shapiro. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, make sure to not miss an episode. We drop daily content all pertaining to your Miami Heat right here Monday through Friday. And of course, like this video if you're feeling a little nice today. But Miami dealing with four major injuries in their rotation right now. The biggest one now looming over Tyler Hero with the big toe irritation that made him a late game scratch Monday night against the Toronto Raptors. But now Norman Powell is dealing with left calf tightness. And then obviously Nikola Jovic and Pelle Larsson also dealing with their respective injuries. Jovic with the elbow injury as he took that tough fall, now dealing with a situation with his elbow from Monday's game, and then Larsson tweaking his ankle against the Magic. Both of those guys, Jovic and Larsson, will not be traveling with the team for this 3-game road trip they're now getting ready for tonight as Miami's on the road against Brooklyn. But all four players, as I just mentioned, not suiting up for practice yesterday. All four of them sidelined. But the promising thing, Anthony Chang did report Hero and Powell will be traveling with the team on this 3-game road trip. First kicking off with Brooklyn on Thursday, Boston Friday, and then New York, I believe, on Sunday. So at least hopeful that Hero is going to be ready to suit up for Miami at some point in this 3-game road trip. Powell currently listed as questionable for tonight's game. Hero ruled out, confirmed. He will not be playing against the Nets, which Miami probably hopefully won't need him to get off this losing skid against this sufferable 13th seed Brooklyn Nets team. But I don't know, the play through this month of December has definitely been a surprising thing to watch considering how Miami has started the regular season. But right now, Tyler Hero being out of the lineup, quite honestly, is really hurting Miami. It really is. And I don't necessarily know what the timeline of how long this is going to linger will potentially be, but it definitely seems like this is an injury that's not really going away. And if this was going to be the case when he debuted this regular season, I don't know why they just didn't wait a few more games to have him suit up. I don't know why they rushed him back, honestly. I don't know if it was because they wanted him to be in the lineup for the NBA Cup or if it was just excitement to try to get him back now that the team was playing at a higher ceiling than expected. But this injury doesn't seem like it's just going to Control-Alt-Delete itself. Anthony Chang also reporting Hero underwent his second MRI on Tuesday in less than 2 weeks. Hero took a Toradol shot to play against the Magic, and Hero even saying, quote, "It hasn't really gotten better. I probably shouldn't have practiced. I'm just trying to control the swelling and inflammation." And that makes it sound like this is going to linger for a couple weeks. I mean, he's only played 6 games since he's been back from the offseason surgery he had, or since he's debuted this season. But if this was going to be the scenario where there was going to be a completely separate injury that was sidelining him from making a consistent return to this lineup, I don't know why Miami would have at least just waited a few more games. At least if it had to wait till the beginning of December or even later, I would rather have Hero be a consistent option in the lineup later in the year when Miami is trying to make a playoff push than through the first 2 months of the season, where even if your play isn't as efficient as you'd like it to be, then you don't need to necessarily rush that back in because, again, there's time to develop. And this Miami team was looking pretty good without him to start the season. Even more the reason why try to rush him back into the lineup if we're good without, or Miami being good without him at that point in time. It just doesn't really add up to me. It really doesn't. And granted, in the 6 games Miami has had him, he's been a solid contributor for this Heat team, especially with how awful the outside shooting has been, especially through the month of December, these last 5 games. I was going on and on about how in the last 5 games, Miami shot under 30% from 3 as a team. Last season, Hero was shooting 37% from the field. In the 6 games he's played this regular season so far, he shot 40% from beyond the arc. And quite honestly, I think he can shoot better than that from outside. Case in point being, he's one of the more reliable outside scoring options this Miami Heat team has at their disposal. He has been over the course of his entire career, and he will continue to be as long as he is in the 305. So to see him not in the lineup right now when this team is abysmally struggling from beyond the arc, it's hurting Miami now more than it really has ever, at least at this point in the regular season. It's just frustrating. I mean, still averaging at least similar numbers to what he was putting up last year when he was an all-star in terms of 23 points per game, 5 rebounds. I mean, the assist numbers have dwindled a little bit, but he's shooting 50% overall from the field. And the 40% from beyond the arc is at least a glimmer of hope for this Miami Heat team to maybe not chuck up so many dang bricks from outside the three-point line. It's coming at a really unfortunate time. So hopefully the situation with this big toe can kind of simmer down a little bit. Hero can be a more consistent option in the lineup, because if there's any hope, at least for the outside game improving for Miami in the near future, it's probably going to start with Tyler Hero, despite, in my opinion, him not shooting as efficiently as I'd like to see him shoot from beyond the field. And this is also coming at a time, as I had mentioned in the last episode, where a lot of your other outside scoring options, their overall efficiency from three-point land has also been kind of falling off. Fontecchio drastically falling off from 50% to roughly 24%. Powell from 46 to 40, now 40% from beyond the arc. Still not terrible, but for Powell, him being, quite honestly, in my opinion, the most consistent outside scoring option Miami has, in addition to Hero, seeing those numbers drop is not a great thing either. Wiggins dropping from 40% to 35%. It's all not good. It's all really tough timing, and it's really hurting Miami now at this point in the season more than it has at least through this 2025-26 campaign. But anyway, segueing over to some trade rumors now regarding the Giannis Antetokounmpo sweepstakes. It's looking like some other teams that could pose potentially competitive packages in comparison to what Miami could offer in the San Antonio Spurs, OKC, and the Houston Rockets may not particularly be interested in winning the Giannis Antetokounmpo sweepstakes. Jake Fisher commenting on the Giannis rumors, saying, with the Thunder, Spurs, and Rockets not expected to join the Giannis sweepstakes, what team could elbow into the bidding and appeal to Giannis as a team he wants to stay with an offer that trumps Miami's ability to package Hero, Ware, draft picks, and maybe more? Him proposing that question. And him kind of saying that, at least to me, maybe suggests that those teams aren't particularly interested in coughing up a plethora of assets to put together a package to send to Milwaukee to acquire the Greek Freak. And quite honestly, I've talked about on the channel, I haven't really mentioned the Thunder and the Rockets, who definitely have some assets that would be a good deal for Milwaukee, I think, to invest in. The Spurs, I think, have the most draft assets, really, to pair up kind of with young talent. The Thunder also have a lot of assets that they could mention as well, but the initial reports kind of suggesting that the Spurs seemed more interested. I initially didn't see that Oklahoma City was trying to get some deal swindled. But now seeing Jake Fisher suggest that they're not expected to enter this conversation, there doesn't really seem like a whole lot of competition for Miami to be up against in a package that could potentially be better than Hero, Ware, and then maybe even Wiggins and some draft picks. So at this point, the ball seems like it's a little bit more in Miami's court, especially than it was maybe a week or two ago. And I know I had talked about, obviously, the Knicks being a front runner in this race to win the Giannis sweepstakes as well, but I don't think Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, and Mikal Bridges are a better package than what Miami could offer. Now, granted, if Giannis outright says he would rather play for New York, it might not necessarily matter, but if Miami outright says that they want to make a trade for Giannis and Milwaukee likes their deal better than the Knicks, and Giannis makes it clear that he wants to make a trade, then who knows what we could potentially see. But it's all going to really fall down on if Giannis himself pretty much outright says, I want out of Milwaukee. I mean, it's also going to fall on the fact if Miami pretty much outright says, we're willing to make a major trade, we're willing to cough up the assets for a superstar, which they're always in the conversation for these guys, whether it's John Morant, LaMelo Ball, Kevin Durant over this past summer in some regards. But even in this scenario with Antetokounmpo, Miami's name being thrown out, I feel like tirelessly in so many rumors, and there have been talks, at least in the organization, for potentially putting together a package. But we haven't heard anything along the lines of a Pat Riley going, we want to make a blockbuster trade to acquire Giannis. And we haven't heard Giannis himself pretty much outright say, I want to leave Milwaukee, point blank, period. So I don't think anything's going to happen until those two things, at least kind of those definitive lines in the sand, are drawn. And we're seeing both of those parties really commit to making a deal happen in Giannis and the Heat. Drop in the comments if you think something will happen before the trade deadline, because I kind of hope it does. I would really like to see the Greek Freak on Miami. Granted, I think that this Miami Heat team has the potential to make the playoffs and make a decent postseason run, but obviously, we've kind of seen now Miami go on a stint where they win a couple games, then they lose a couple games, and they're not as consistent as I would like to see them be. So at this point, you've got to bite the bullet on making an acquisition for a superstar that could maybe change the pace of how your team looks from being a strong team to a title contender, or just be complacent with being a pretty solid team in the conference and then maybe not getting past the second round in the playoffs. It doesn't seem like Miami is really at least confident in either wanting to tear the whole thing down and try to acquire a ton of assets and just rebuild the entire floor plan around Bam Adebayo, but it also seems like they're not confident in wanting to make a blockbuster trade to alter their lineup to build it around another superstar in Bam Adebayo. So I think Miami and Antetokounmpo just need to open their mouths and say what they want at this point in time, because flirting the idea of potentially making a major move like this is not really doing any party either favor. It's not really doing either party, any favors at this point in time. We'll just kind of have to wait and see how it all transpires, and obviously as the rumors kind of develop, we'll have you up to date on what people are kind of saying and hopefully what direction things are kind of moving in. But that's going to do it for today's episode of your Heat Latest here on FanArc. Be sure to tune into tomorrow's episode. We'll have a recap of tonight's game against Brooklyn. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. We've got great daily content, all pertaining to Miami Heat right here Monday through Friday. Thanks again so much for joining us this Thursday. I'm Sam Shapiro. Have a great day.